Because more 4 stars means there's another chance to get a character like Xlipyth. And that's based. Hello everybody, my name is Christian, and today, welcome to another installment in I didn't plan at all before sitting down to record this video. I make a lot of those. I should really start planning these more. So the topic for today, as you can see by the title, why Honkai Star Rail needs more 4 stars. Now, notice how I'm saying specifically 4 stars. In actuality, I think Star Rail has been quite generous with the amount of free characters we've been given. It's obviously not overwhelming, but we've gotten a decent few free ones. Just recalling off the top of my head, we had the free standard banner character from about 2.7, I believe. You could pick any standard banner 5-star. Then we got the new form of the Trailblazer, which the Trailblazer is always free, so that one doesn't count as much, but hey, at least the Trailblazer is good now. Then we got the Golden Companion Spirit, so we could either get Luocha, Ron Mei, or, once again, a standard banner character. And now we're going to get the free character Archer, and that's all been from 2.7 to now 3.4. Honestly, that's not too bad on paper. That's a decent few free characters, and, you know, it's not just one specific option. You have the opportunity to pick one of a few. Diversity, pretty good. You don't have to get locked into just getting one character you might not want. There's a few options you have, and that's pretty nice, you know? A lot of other games don't give you that. The main problem with this, however, is the fact that I feel like they have given out more free characters as kind of an attempt to distract from the fact that we have not had any new 4 stars at all. Because the fact that everybody loves pointing out, the last 4-star was Moz. That was in version 2.5, I think. It's been months. We have had no new 4 stars since the Lawfu continuance. We did wrap a story. We went through the other Penacony quest. We started Amphorius and saw all of our friends die. And there still isn't 4 stars. Now, I'm recording this pretty heavily in advance. Maybe a new 4-star has finally been announced. Maybe. Admittedly, though, I don't have a lot of hope. It's just a shame, because 4-star characters in this game have been some of my absolute favorites by far. So we're going to open up this page real quick. Dan Heng is obviously part of your crew, and he does also have a 5-star variant, so that one's a bit unfair, but Dan Heng's awesome. But then Gallagher, not only one of the best characters in the game, but also probably one of my personal favorites by far. I absolutely love Gallagher, and I'm sad that, you know, he's dead. But Gallagher's awesome. I love Xlipyth. Xlipyth is at minimum a top 5 character for me, and realistically probably top 3, top 4. She is so amazing, and I wish they used her more. I wish she showed up beyond just events, but hey, what are you gonna do? Then we have a character like Ting Yun, who is still pretty good nowadays. She had her little unique role. Sunday kinda, you know, stole it a little bit, but she's cool. Jing Shui, one of the more unique characters in the game with her design. And then we have Moz and March, who are both great Topaz replacements. They're both amazing characters in their own right with super unique mechanics. March's enhanced basic attack is unbelievably cool. Her skill is one of the most unique in the entire game by far with what it can do, its abilities, what it offers. Like, this is one of my favorite character designs, and I have talked about it at length. 4 stars are cool, man. They do things that I feel like 5 stars don't do. A lot of the 4-star kits are super unique, super different, and maybe it's because they're not as good, or the kits don't have the same longevity as a 5-star, but that still makes the character unique. That still makes them worth having. That people will desire them. People will try to get them. But the thing is, though, is that without any new ones, we're kind of just stuck in this cycle where a lot of players, even people who started in like version 2.0, a lot of these people are getting close to having every single 4-star at E6. That's insane. Why? Why is that the case? It should not be, like, you should not be able to have every single 4-star at E6 at this point. Especially if you started at some point in version 2.0. But that's the case. That's what's going on. I've already talked once about 4 stars, and, you know, why I like them, but also what the problem with these characters is. It's gotten to a point where it doesn't matter anymore people desire new characters. People desire something new to collect, and at the same time, Hoyoverse is also kind of robbing themselves a little bit of potentially more marketability and more sales. To go into, the human psychology a little bit, it's pretty easy psychology, luckily. It's just see shiny thing, want shiny thing. There are players who will only pull for women, or who will only pull for men. Me personally, I think this is a ridiculous concept, and people are probably yelling at me because I mainly only have female 5-stars on my account. Before we really get into that, I would just like to say, there have been multiple male characters who I wanted, and I just either A, did not get, or there was a character who I wanted more. That's how the cookie crumbles. But I digress. There are people who are only ever going to pull for men, or who are only ever going to pull for women. The thing is, though, is that in the case of a character like Moz, if you slap him on a banner of a female character and they don't already have, like, Moz, or they don't have his Eidolons, players will pull on that banner a little bit to get Moz Eidolons. By incorporating these characters onto banners of characters that players may not want, you can still get pulls out of that, which in turn might still generate you some additional revenue. Or at the very least, it'll continue to drive up interest for the game. It'll keep people pulling, it'll keep people playing. When it's the case of there are no new characters being added, you're constantly getting the same ones and you're constantly building up their Eidolons, at a certain point, what else are you going to do? For me personally, I pulled on, Hyacinth and Herta's banner. I did not want Hyacinth. However, Serval was at E5. I wanted a Serval Eidolon. And guess what? I ended up with a Serval Eidolon, and now she's E6. So I got what I wanted out of that. There are hundreds upon hundreds of people who will do that exact same thing. And to get those pulls, they have to play the game. Guess what? That earns Hoyoverse money. But if we're getting to the case where we're running out of characters to do that with, what are we going to be accomplishing at that point? It's only going to be worrying about the 5-stars. And yeah, that's the main source of revenue, but that doesn't change the fact it's still kind of shooting yourself in the foot a little bit when you don't have to. Now, I know the concept of game design is very hard. Actually coming up with good characters, making unique characters, all of that is very difficult. And I don't want to understate that, because genuinely, I understand. That is very, very hard to consistently come up with good, unique ideas while making an entire design for a character, and God forbid they're important to the story. Then, that's gonna be a whole mess. The actuality of character design is very hard, but we're still getting 2 new 5-stars every single update. But we can't get a 4-star anywhere in there? Why is that? Me and a lot of other people included were kind of hoping that some of the Chrysosairs would have been 4-stars. Or that, we could have gotten some 4-stars from Amphorius in general. That had not really been the case. None of the Chrysosairs had turned out to be 4-stars. We didn't get any 4-stars just from Amphorius in general. There was no guy named, I can't even think of a name. There was no guy named Jim in the corner who was a violin player who happened to be a 4-star. And, that's kind of unfortunate. Because 4-stars really add to the environment. They add to just the interest level in the game. Because every character is somebody's favorite. And by not including as many characters, or by not giving people the option to get them, it kind of hurts things a little bit. And this applies to 5-stars as well. Like, there are hundreds of thousands of people who would have pulled for Tribios. I am one of them. I would love to get Tribios, but we can't, so oh well. I definitely went a bit off the script there, Jesus Christ. So we're just lacking 4-stars, and it just kind of makes for a more unfortunate experience overall. This is in just the collection, like, the overall experience sense, but it's also severely hurting the gameplay experience, because in every single event that gives you a 4-star, in almost all of them, I have all the 4-stars maxed out, so I basically just get a ticket. It's like, is that more helpful? I mean, probably. Is it more fun? Absolutely not. it really takes away from the experience. It doesn't make it anywhere near as fun. And, you know, obviously I'm doing the event for the Jades, but there's still a nice reward at the end with the character. But that kind of, I don't know, it diminishes it a little bit when you know you're not getting anything new, you're not getting anything that you're really going to be excited about. That's one aspect of kind of the disappointment with gameplay. But then there's the actual combat-oriented gameplay. This is probably the most annoying thing about not having 4 stars. We don't have anything to supplement for a lack of 5 stars. More experienced players definitely know what I'm talking about with this one, but just to explain a little bit, let's look at March again. A character like March is a replacement for Topaz, the 5-star character. Topaz is better, or was better, in almost every single scenario. However, March, since she would get all 6 of her Eidolons, was a very, very powerful character, and she could actually be used as a replacement for Topaz in many of her ideal scenarios. It wasn't going to be a one-to-one thing. Topaz was probably still better in a lot of scenarios, but it was close enough that you could reasonably switch the two and still achieve similar results. Or, if you wanted to invest in something else instead of a Topaz, like let's say when Fei Xiao was coming out, you wanted to get Fei Xiao and her light cone, then you could do that and have March come in to kind of help out, and you're still going to have good results. A lot of characters, that is the design philosophy for 4 stars, I feel. A character like Gallagher exists to be a replacement for somebody like Luocha, for somebody like Bailu. Gallagher exists so that if you don't have those premium healing options, like those 5-star options, you still have somebody good in your corner. Now Gallagher's an outlier case because he is now one of the best characters in the game. I don't think they really intended on that when they made him. However, that doesn't change the fact that he is unbelievably incredible. He's done his job amazingly, and it would be nice if there was other characters like that. Characters who, they don't need to exceed 5 stars, because those are 5 stars. Those are the ones you're pulling for mainly. They should be better. But we want comparable characters. That is what so many people in the player base want to have with 4 stars. And there are still options for characters to fill those roles. We lack a few different characters who can really make up for what 5 stars can do. Like, there is no replacement. That lack of interchangeability, that lack of alternate options that are not 5 stars, make the game a lot less enjoyable for players with bad luck or players who aren't willing to spend. And yeah, okay, maybe that's always not going to be your main concern. That's how companies work, I get that. But that's still a lot of your player base. Making it that unfun for so many people is really, really not good. So, a character like Cypher. Cypher exists to now replace Topaz, and by proxy, replace March. But March still serves as a replacement for both of them. That's good. You have an option for those. We like to see that. Now, how about a character like... Oh, here's an interesting one. How about a character like Aventurine? Aventurine was released in 2.1. He is the last preservation character to be released. It has been how many updates? And Aventurine is still the most recent preservation character? That's not good. And yes, you can technically argue that, oh, well, March is already the 4-star option in that. March was released at the start of the game. The difference between a 1.0 unit and a 2.1 unit is insanely different. And especially the fact that, let's take a deeper look at 4 stars on preservation real quick. Oh, yeah, okay, so it's just March. Now, you do have Trailblazer of Preservation. Okay, so that was also in 1.x. You have Japard. Okay, that's a launch character. Fu Xuan is a premium character. At least she's been added to the 50-50 pool. And then Aventurine. Are you kidding me? Not to mention, Aventurine can apply shields to the entire party. March can only do one. Japard can apply it to all people. Problem is, it requires his ultimate. Aventurine just has to use a frickin' skill. And it stacks automatically. Honestly, if we wanted to get any sort of preservation 4-star, the easiest thing in the world would just be Tie getting multiple shields to the character's skill. Don't make them stack automatically like Aventurine's with his follow-up attack. Link it entirely to the skill. You have to invest a skill for it, and then go from there with the rest of the design. Do whatever you want, but there you go. That is how we could get a 4-star preservation unit. And then that serves as a replacement for Aventurine, who for so much of this game's existence was irreplaceable in the lineups he was in. And more importantly, he was just irreplaceable since he had so much good about him and his ability to sustain. Without that, with no other alternative, it was really just Aventurine. And that kinda sucks. The nice part is, we get a bunch of other sustains, so Aventurine doesn't have to be the most extreme example, but still, that kinda sucks. That's just insane that we can't get any other sort of 4-star for a path that is very, very limited in what it can give you currently. In terms of something else that we could kinda need as just another 4-star alternative, how about somebody like Xiao Cho? Xiao Cho, he is a defense shredder, and he gives a good amount of increased damage taken to the enemies. He's perfect for Acheron, he works for Mighty, he can work for Herta, he can work in a lot of different scenarios. He's very good. There isn't really a free character who does what he does. The closest one would be Pela, obviously, but Pela is also an incredibly old character, and that's all she can do. The only thing Pela can do on the battlefield is use her ultimate to increase damage taken. That's literally it. She has no other purpose. She does nothing else. She's outclassed by Xiao Cho pretty significantly, and when they tried to make a character who was a bit more combat suited, we ended up with Gwenhyphen. Gwenhyphen can increase damage taken by a pretty hefty amount, and it's not a defense reduction, it is straight up damage increase. So that is going to be a bit better, and then you can still use something like Resolution Shines on her to increase that amount. Neither of these characters still really stack up to Xiao Cho. Also, we haven't seen a non-5-star defense shredder since Gwenhyphen. I can double check, but yeah, there's nobody. There is literally nobody since Gwenhyphen who can increase damage taken as a free option. Gwenhyphen was released in like version 1.4, 1.3. Jesus, man! That's insane to not have any more options for a character type that, over time, has only become more important, more prevalent in a lot of the most common teams in the game. Castris makes use of increased damage, Acheron has always made use of increased damage, Boothill can make use of it, frickin' Finon can probably make use of it, Mighty makes use of it. A lot of these new characters have really, really relied on that increased damage, and to not have any more free alternatives since all the way back then, that's really, really peculiar. Like, I can't be the only one who thinks that, right? I think the last thing I can really talk about here, with the amount of HP characters that kind of came at us all in a short amount of time, Tribby, Mighty, Castris, now we're getting Blade buffs, it's also strange that there was never a 4-star HP scaler added besides Arlen, who came out at the start of the game. Also, I don't even think that Arlen scales off of HP. I think he just drains his own goddamn HP. I think he just wants to die, actually. Which is not great. It's strange that we never got a character comparable to that. And, okay, yes, they might have added Blade to the 50-50 pool to alleviate that pressure. That's not the same thing. That's not the same thing. We need to all accept that that is not the same thing. Yes, buffs are nice, but also you would still need to goddamn get Blade. That might not be the easiest. There are 7 options on that frickin' banner. You will not get the one you want every single time. If we did, I would have E6 Welt and Himiko by now. So having no other 4-star option who is an HP scaler, whether it be a support or just a sub DPS, that's strange to me. Because I feel like that would be a great inclusion, especially along somebody like Castris. She relies on high HP teammates to really make use of her abilities, her kit, and a 4-star HP, like sub DPS, that would work great alongside her. Think about all the people running Mighty Casterus. If those two can work together, or you're running, God forbid, Casterus Blade, if all of that can work, why not give us a 4-star option, a 4-star alternative to slot in there for players who want to try it, or for players who maybe you don't have Tribby, so you only have RMC. Alright, well, here's your solution. Let's slap an HP 4-star in there. There you go, now you got something to work with. This all very much coincides with just the sheer amount of 5-stars that they have been adding to the game. There's been no break at all. And on top of this, we're also getting collab characters, which is even more work. With just the amount of 5-stars that are being added, without a break. Because I think in other games like Genshin, there doesn't always seem to be 2 new 5-stars every single time. I might be wrong, so forgive me if I am. But that doesn't always seem to be the case. And it seems like this practice has just been, like, in overdrive lately. And it's kind of unfortunate, because that means that we don't get those 4-stars as often. And me and a lot of other players would love to have that. Because it's more characters, it's more unique chances to make teams, to have fun. And that's kind of disappearing, because we're only getting 5-stars, which are harder to get. There are ways that they've tried to alleviate this with the Golden Companion Spirits, with the new 50-50 pools, and buffs are really nice, but that's still, it's reinventing a character, yes, making them into something different, but that's still just not a completely new character, or that's not a character that people like, that they would want to see included in the game in some small way. It's just not the same concept, unfortunately. I really do hope that at some point we can kind of get back to a better balance. I really do hope that we can see more 4-stars. It would be really nice. It would make for a lot more fun, and yeah, that's just it. We also need a few more options for team building. A lot of characters get used in a lot of similar lineups. There's a lot of overlap, and it gets really annoying. And even more than that, it also just kind of detracts from the fun a little bit that you don't have a lot more options available to you, not having to spend a bunch of money or not having to get really lucky on your pulls. I think that's all I have to say for today. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. Definitely not the most fun video to make, but once again, it was a topic I've seen a bit more recently, so I felt like covering it. I felt like it'd be a good thing to kind of go over as we start getting further and further into Amphorius. With that said, I really hope you guys look forward to the next video. Got plenty of good stuff coming out, and I will see you guys then. Bye-bye.